Hey guys, welcome to this very interesting video because today I'm going to do something very unique, and that is compare the Ranger Raptor, to the Bronco Raptor, to the F-150 Raptor R, because I've taken all three of these, well except for this one, up this trail. So today we're going to see how the smallest and least expensive of the Raptors compares to its bigger brothers. So before we start going up the trail in the Ranger Raptor, let's cut to the video of me taking the Raptor R up this trail. I cannot think of a better cross-country road vehicle than this Raptor. It's just so comfortable. With those shocks in Baja mode, it's like riding on air suspension. Now, one of the things that Ford did in this generation of Raptor was they got rid of the Torsen front end locker, basically, and a lot of people are worried about that, but we have had no issues with this in terms of actually having enough traction or enough grip from the front wheels, since that Torsen diff is gone. It's now using, brake to basically stop the wheel that's spinning, so you get traction to the wheel that's not. And if you get this thing in a rock crawl situation where that becomes an issue, then you're probably one of the few people who actually ever take a Raptor into that situation, because the problem with this Raptor and the Bronco Raptor is that they're just so wide, and we're going to hit a part of this trail pretty soon where it's going to get pretty narrow, and I'm going to have to either put the mirrors in or risk pinstriping the truck. Now, I have taken, like I said, both the Raptor R like now and the Bronco Raptor up here, and they're both very capable. There's not a lot between them. To me, to my eye, obviously I love lifted vehicles. I love lifted vehicles on 37s, but yeah, it almost looks a little too wide. Dare I say it? That's like saying it's almost got too much tire. I didn't know that was possible. Now, the other bad thing about this truck, here comes a Jeep. She's moving over, which is nice for all of you guys out there who don't do a lot of off-roading. The uphill vehicle has the right of way, but that's not a really hard and fast rule. It's just whoever can move over. Howdy. Oh, you got a handful there with all those dogs. Yeah. All right, thanks. Appreciate it. Oh yeah, where was I? The other thing about both these vehicles is that they don't do really well on fuel economy. The Monroney over there says that this is going to get 12. Let's see what we're getting here. I'll zoom in for you so you can see better. And we're getting, there it is, 12.5. Not exactly stellar. And let me put that into perspective for you. And I don't think this is a problem for anybody who has one of these, because I suspect if you can afford, 112 plus whatever the dealer markup is, you can afford gas. But this has a 36-gallon fuel tank, which means that if you're buying premium gas, which you're going to have to put in here because that's what is required, and let's say I'm going to be just do some easy math here. Let's say you're getting it for $5 a gallon, which I think would be, an average price if you're not in California. Then 36 gallons by $5 a gallon, I think it's about $180. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm suck at math. But that means you're going to be paying close to, what, $200 to fill this up every single time. And you'd be surprised just how quickly this truck goes through 36 gallons of premium fuel. It is rather shocking and remarkable. All right, now we're going to get up to this part that is a little narrow up here where the trees kind of come in, and this is where you're going to see the downside of both this truck and the Bronco Raptor. And like I said, this is a pretty open trail, especially once we pop above tree line, then it doesn't become an issue. But coming up, let me zoom in, coming up right there is going to get a little bit, there we go, you can see it right here. I'm already going to start to hit. I have to bring in my mirrors because I don't want to scratch them. Let me bring in my mirrors. Come on in. There we go. Now I get to scratch the whole outside of them, but look, I mean, yeah. You can kind of see the issue, and then up here it even gets narrower with the trees. And you know, this is just a little bit of right there and right there. This is just a little bit of potential pinstriping. But imagine if you're not, you know, hitting the furry part of the fur, but actually the sticky part of it. You know, you're going to get into areas where you're just not going to be able to maneuver this truck here in Colorado because it's so wide. Now, I do love the exhaust note. I think that is my favorite feature of this truck, and that is definitely missing in the Bronco Raptor. That V6 just doesn't have the. Let me take my mirrors back out. There we go. The V6 just doesn't have the same emotional connection that this supercharged V8 does. A couple other things that differentiate this. I was talking about getting rid of the Torsen front end, front diff. The Bronco Raptor does have a locking front and rear, so certainly in that regard it's going to be a little bit more capable if you're going to places like Moab and you're doing some slick rock. So I think the other big factor is this is heavier, even though it's made of aluminum. And if you're wondering, it's about 400 pounds lighter than a TRX, but this still is heavier than a Bronco Raptor. And of course, it's got a bed. In terms of space, full-size trucks are very spacious. So I would give the advantage actually to this truck over the Bronco Raptor. I think that there's more room in the cabin. I think it's more comfortable. I also think they both really suck in terms of being able to see over the hood. Now you're seeing my POV, my point of view, and you can see what I'm seeing, and that is a lot of, I'm going to call it like metal and, well, aluminum in this case, and plastic binnacle, which isn't grand, you know. Ideally, a side-by-side, you just have incredible visual awareness all around you, so that when you're going up the shelf road, you know exactly where you're placing your wheels. Here, the only way I can do that is with this, and that is helpful, but the picture flattens everything out. It makes it a little bit useless in some regards. So it's hard to say, you know, where the cliff starts and the dirt road ends. And now let's cut to the video of me taking the Bronco Raptor up this trail. Let me zoom in. Raptor, if you can see it there on the side, in eruption green. You're seeing my view, and as you can tell, that's a big, wide, and flat hood straight ahead, so you can kind of get a sense of what I'm seeing. And you might be thinking, why don't you turn the cameras on, which I could, but once again, I'd rather look out the big natural camera that's the windscreen as opposed to those guys. But I gotta say, I'm loving this big steering wheel. Even not being aired down, this ride is very comfortable. It just is eating up this trail as if I were on, well, not quite smooth pavement, but nevertheless. The exhaust note is good. I like hearing what the engine is doing. And the truck is really handling well. Now, as a Raptor, this is basically meant for Baja running, and we don't have a lot of that here in Colorado. There is some sand, but mostly we've got this kind of thing. So it is a little bit of a disadvantage because of how wide it is, because you basically have to thread the needle. And sometimes it's hard to see just how steep this is. Outside of how wide this is, I gotta tell you, I love the suspension. I love the power. I love the seating comfort. I love the fact that I've got the Bronco Raptor in Colorado. This must be one of the first ones here. So, you know, there's part of me which is kind of very grateful that you guys watch these videos that allows me to do things like be the first to actually have one of these here in Colorado. Yeah, it's impressive. And in case you're wondering how high we are, I think my watch should tell you. Let's look. I've got an altimeter on my watch, and the watch says my steps. Not a lot, but the watch says 10,000 feet above sea level. So, wow. That's when you get to 30% of power loss, because you lose about 3% per 1,000 feet of elevation gain. So we're down 30%, and this truck just does not care. And now we're gonna pop into the open, and we're gonna try just a quick bit of desert running to see how this feels, and see how it's set up, because now the trail's getting a little bit better. Not terribly better. It's still pretty bumpy, but see how the suspension does. You know, I'm talking desert running. I'm doing what, 12 miles an hour, so I'm not exactly flying. But yeah, this thing is taking everything I can throw at it. I think my back will go out before this truck will. Oh yeah, long wheelbase, nice. Not sure what the short wheelbase one would be like, but certainly a little bit less comfortable. So let's take this up to the corner, and then we'll close up this video with my final thoughts on the new Bronco Raptor and what Ford has built. Oh yeah. Welcome back. All right, so today we're going to figure out which of these three is the best off-roader. Is it this one, or is it the other two Raptors? And I've got some thoughts on that already, and starting with the fact that this is by far the least expensive of the Raptors. At about $57,000, this costs about half as much as the Raptor R. Of course, it doesn't have a V8. It's got a V6 3-liter under the hood, which we'll look at in a second. But a Raptor R would cost about $110,000 before dealer markup, and a Bronco Raptor probably $80,000 to $90,000 before dealer markup. Now, if you've been following TFL Off-Road, you know we've taken this up one of the hardest trails in Colorado. And if you haven't seen that video from Kelly Flats, go check it out, because we did do some trail damage. We did a little bit of damage here, curb damage to this wheel. We kind of peeled off some of the rhino lining off these Raptor steps, which really are more steps than rock rails. And then we did a little bit of damage right there as well, a little bit of curb rash. But if you want to make an omelet, you got to break some eggs, or in this case, you know, take the thing off-road and put it in harm's way. Now, what makes this, of course, unique and better than a regular Ranger is that it's about 3.8 inches wider, because underneath we've got Fox shocks. In fact, they're active Fox shocks. Let me show them to you. 2.5 inches, and they give you about 10 inches of travel, both front and rear, which is pretty amazing. It's also about 4 inches narrower than its bigger brother, the Raptor R, and that makes it ideal for tight Colorado trails with a lot of trees. Now, if I get out of breath, please forgive me. You can see by my watch, I'm at 11,000 feet above sea level. That's over 2 miles. And at 2 miles above sea level, we're looking at least 30% less oxygen density. And so it's a little, well, it's a little breathy up here. Now, going back to the Ranger Raptor, other things, of course, that make it unique from a run-of-the-mill Ranger with the FX4 package are these 33-inch BFG KO3s. We're looking at 285 70 17s, and you know, it's a beefy tire. Now, you could get a GM product, the Canyon AT4X, with the Bison package that rolls on 35s, but you know, 33s are plenty good for most of the off-roading that you'll ever want to do. Now, under the hood is a similar engine to what's in the Bronco Raptor. It's a 3-liter 6-cylinder turbo that puts out, I believe it's 405 horsepower and like 430 pound-foot of torque. It's a little bit less than the Bronco Raptor, and that's because this has a longer exhaust, which robs it of a little bit of horsepower. And all that power goes through a 10-speed automatic transmission. Now you've got, of course, Ford spelled out in big bold letters. You've kind of got these fake air vents up here, which look cool but don't do much. And of course, you've got full recovery points right there and right there. And if you look underneath, hello, yeah, welcome to Colorado. People run up trails and I'm barely breathing. I used to do that once upon a time when I was a little bit younger. Anyway, full underbody cladding. Like I said, these steps, which are more steps than rock rails. Full spare tire. Let me show you that underneath here. So you've got a nice big spare tire, full size, which is nice when you're on the trail. More beefy recovery points, and of course, dual exhausts with valves that open and close. I can show you those that make for more growly V6 exhaust note. And then the only issue we've had is, and then it's protected, is this little connector for your trailer. Hangs kind of low, and we took it to Moab. We did hit it a little bit, as you can tell. Now this tows a little bit over 5,000 pounds. If you want to tow more, you know, this is not the rig for that, but neither is the F-150 Raptor R. That tows, you know, just over 8,000 pounds. So the problem, of course, is that these rigs are set up to go off-road and aren't necessarily designed for towing. So if you want towing, get yourself a run-of-the-mill Ranger or a run-of-the-mill Raptor. But, you know, 5,000-ish pounds is enough for bringing your side-by-side up here so you could go and try to see which one's faster, the truck or what it's towing. Now, my only complaint, and I've owned this truck, or we've owned this truck for, I think, almost 2 months now, is kind of the lack of aggressive styling. It doesn't look as Raptor-y, if that's a word, as many of the Raptor products. I mean, it does say Raptor in the back there, but still, I think on the street, it's kind of innocuous, whereas a Raptor or Bronco Raptor is not. But, you know, that's not a bad thing. Sometimes it's nice to be a little bit stealthy and not have to worry about, you know, being kind of the guy with the big off-road truck on road. Now inside, you do get typical Raptor styling. So you're looking at, of course, a big fat steering wheel with the word Raptor on it, Raptor seats, Raptor orange stitching. You do have, you know, a much smaller back seat, but it's not horrible back here. In fact, I think it's bigger than the Toyota Tacoma, especially if you're looking at the TRD Pro, which has this new seat that is isodynamic, which takes up a lot of back seat room. So let's keep looking at the truck. The bed is pretty good. A lot of tied down points. Once again, let's use the Goldilocks analogy. And to me, this version of the Raptor always feels just right. Now, if you need more hauling room, you probably want the full-size Raptor. Interestingly, this truck was first introduced in Australia and Europe before it came here, and there is a lot of like European feel to it. So I would say it does feel a little bit more civilized than a Bronco Raptor or a Ranger Raptor. Now, what you may be wondering is just how good it is off-road. So let's start with kind of our different off-road modes. Of course, what makes it nice is you've got 2 high, 4 high, 4 auto, and now I'm in 4 low, and then you've got different drive modes. I'm going to go yes, but I'm going to zip through those so I can show them to you. So you can go, okay, so that's your Baja mode, that's your off-road mode, there's your normal mode, and what that does is it takes you out of 4-wheel drive when you do that, so you don't have to necessarily put it into all the all-wheel drive modes. Now, I want to stay in, let's go into rock mode because this does get kind of rocky. So I want to go into now Baja, I'm going to go into rock crawl mode. There we go, and that does a bunch of things. First and foremost, it gives you this kind of cool screen, turns off traction control, as you can see right there, puts you in 4 low, and then over here, let me see if I can change this to a different look. That's a different camera. This also allows you to then change your different camera angles, as is the way now, so you can see that I don't want to back up because I'll back up into a tree. You've got a little hitch thing if you did have a hitch. Forward-facing camera, all 3 cameras. There should be a 360 camera as well, so let's go to that. So there's your 360 camera. So just a lot of different cameras, and then this is very handy. You can turn off your parking sensors, and we'll need that because we're going to go up and down some pretty steep little hills, and it's always annoying to have them beep. So let me go back into off-road mode again for a second here. Come on, let me go back. There we go. And that's nice because now you also have your front and your rear locker, and now I've gotten rid of the camera, and I've put up, you know, how many degrees of up and down, left and right I am. And then the only thing that I don't like about this vehicle was 2 things, but the main thing I don't like is the lockers, as you can tell, are in the screen. In other words, they're virtual. And if the screen goes, you're not going to be able to activate your rear or front locker. Now in rock crawl mode, I've got the rear locked, and I'm not air down, as you can tell. This trail doesn't really require it. Unlike the trail we did with Tommy up Kelly Flats, which did require it, that was quite the steep and deep trail. And by the way, if you're wondering where I'm at, check out our friends at Onyx Off-Road. You can download them to your phone, the maps, and then you can just tell how hard this is. This trail is called Deer Creek. It's just off of Montezuma, and if you've got Onyx, then it'll allow you to actually see where you're going. And they've been partnered with us for a number of years, and we use them on a regular basis because they're really the best maps out there. And then if you click on the link below, and I think if you use TFL, you'll get a discount as well. So thank you to Onyx for letting us do this video. All right, well, the other cool things on this truck, and there's a lot of cool things there, of course, I can change the exhaust note. I don't think you can hear it, but that's normal, that's sport, and why not Baja because we're off-road. You know, same thing with the steering. I'm in off-road mode already, and same thing with the shocks. Once again, off-road mode right there because we are going to be hitting some bumps. So let's take this guy for a ride, put it in drive. Oh yeah, a little bit of a deeper growl, and here we go. Up the mountain we go. And you can tell the rear is locked because I'm getting a little bit of crabbing, but that's just fine. And I would think that one of the things that, like I said, makes this truck so much fun to drive off-road is 10 inches of suspension travel, and active suspension at that, which means that if you look at me, I'm not getting tossed around, my head is pretty stable. And for instance, right here, you can kind of see that I've got you know, some logs and the tree right next to me, but because this truck is so narrow compared to the other trucks, it's much easier to kind of point where you want it to go versus having to kind of weave your way through the trees in both the Bronco Raptor and the F-150 Raptor and Raptor R. Now you are missing that V8 from the Raptor R, but at half the price, I'm okay with that. And I'm giving it a little bit more juice here. I am not in Baja mode. Maybe I should get myself in Baja mode and see what that feels like, because I'm still in rock crawl mode, but this trail is more, feels more Baja-y. So let me switch it over here. Okay, rock crawl, out of rock crawl, and into Baja. Still in 4.0. No, it doesn't want me in 4.0. So I'm going to switch to neutral. 4-wheel shift in progress. That should take me out of 4 low. Yep, 4 high now. Still no locker this time. And let's give this thing a little bit beans and see how it does. And see how the suspension soaks up these bumps and these little whoop-de-doos. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, no problem whatsoever. I think Onyx rates this trail, Deer Creek, at like a 5 out of 10. I haven't looked actually, but like I said, it's more of a kind of a very off-roady dirt road than necessarily a rock crawling mode. And you can tell that the steering is really working well to place me exactly where I want to go. And even though I'm not aired down, I'm not getting crazy head sway, which is really good. Plenty of power, no issues with, you know, not having enough torque to negotiate this relatively steep part of the trail. And you know what? I don't like Baja mode. I'm going to go back I'm going to switch it back into, put it back in neutral here. I'm going to switch it back. Okay, I'm going to switch it back to rock crawl mode. It's just a little too rock crawly at this point. 4-wheel shift in progress. 4 low, rear locker on. I love how easy that is. As you know, we recently had the Ineos, and there you're always kind of wondering, am I in 4 low? Is the rear locker locked? And same thing with the Tacoma. This, on the other hand, electronic lockers, pick your mode, truck does everything for you, and away you go. Yeah, this is a much better mode. I think this trail is a little bit too steep and a little bit too rocky. Baja mode is more running in the desert in Mexico. The other nice thing about this is I can kind of sort of see over the hood when you're driving one of the bigger Broncos. It's very hard to see what's over the hood because they're such big trucks. Now, here's an interesting fact. If you're comparing this to the Bronco Raptor, you've got the same powertrain, but this truck is almost 400 pounds lighter. Yeah, it's lighter than a Bronco. And that does pay dividends. It's of course longer too, which means your breakover angle isn't as good. But 400 pounds, that's me and Andre in the truck. And that does make a big difference, especially when you start to get up high here where, you're down 30% oxygen density, which means 30% horsepower. So instead of 400 horsepower, 4 times 3, more like 280, if I did my math right. Yeah, and that's a big deal, especially for something that's very weighty. But the thing that really stands out as I'm driving up this trail, like I did with all the other trucks, is just how easy this is to maneuver. Now, we're going to get to a little section here that's going to get really tight with pine trees. You can see it on either side of me. And a little bit of pinstriping off-road is kind of normal. If you don't want to pinstripe your vehicle, don't go off-road, especially in Colorado. Maybe you can get away with that in Arizona. I don't think cacti, but look how tight this is going to get here. So, I've got this pine tree on the right, this bush, and I'm going to start to hit it. But I remember coming through here in the Bronco Raptor and thinking to myself, this is a fat truck, as well as the Raptor R. Whereas this guy, it's like, it's just like picking your way through a trail like you were in a side-by-side. And I know it's not a side-by-side, obviously it's still a mid-sized truck, and it's still a mid-sized truck that's wider than most. But it's so much easier and less stressful to do it in this truck. I have to say, out of the 3 vehicles that I've taken up here, this is the least stressful and probably the easiest of them. And part of that, of course, is, like I said, the price on this one is, and I hate to use this word, so put in air quotes here, but I'm going to call it a bargain compared to the other 2 Broncos, Raptors, sorry. I'm concentrating on the trail here while I'm trying to narrate this video. But it is a bargain. I mean, $57,000, yes. 10 years ago, that would have gotten you a very, very well-equipped full-size truck. But now it gets you an exceptionally equipped mid-size truck. So if you're not in need of, bigger towing numbers like 10,000 pounds that a full-size truck could easily do, and you don't need the back seat room, this does give you a lot of great creature comforts. I mean, first and foremost, we're looking at, as you can see, dual climate zones. I'm going to try to drive without crashing or going into the meadow at the bottom of this. You also get a standard brake controller, which is really nice. Paddle shifters, as you can tell, and they look really great. You also get heated steering wheel, heated seats, automatic headlights, all the creature comforts you would expect, in one of the top-end trucks you'll find here. And then behind me, as you can tell, there's a window that's actually operated electrically, so you don't have to manually slide it. You don't get a sunroof, but I'm not a big fan of sunroofs in trucks. I just never tend to use them. Then of course you get these really comfortable electric seats, these little orange accents, and something I really hate, which is piano black. Look at all the dust that's accumulated up here. Don't you hate this? Ford, or any automaker, if you're listening to me, please stop it with the piano black, especially on off-road trucks. That just looks so bad, and yet manufacturers keep using it. I think it's going out of style. Like I said this in another video, like chrome, which is, you know, toxic. And everybody in the comments was like, I love chrome. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't want to be around when it's made. But let's get rid of piano black. Just a real dust magnet, as you can tell. The other thing I like about this truck is the throttle response is just on point. I think especially up here, the turbo really helps this engine. Just helps force air, even, you know, less dense air, giving you much more power. I also love the seats. As a big guy, these are very comfortable, and dare I say it, very stylish. I love this screen, which, you know, changes based on what mode you're in. Of course, it gives you also your water temperature, your oil temperature, your transmission temperature if you're towing. That's a big one right there. And then, of course, fuel. And you can customize all that, which is really nice. And then, you know, ubiquitous cameras all around, and just capability that is hard to match. But probably my favorite thing about this truck was just how cushy of a ride. These Fox shocks really do a great job in making off-roading fun, because nothing sucks more than having to off-road a vehicle that's, you know, more on-road than off-road. And it's actually really compliant, and that's surprising given the fact that we've got a front anti-sway bar that's non-disconnectable. And speaking of non-disconnectable or disconnectable sway bars, let me turn it off here. We have to kind of talk about the competition. If you're, you know, looking at something with this much capability, an obvious choice would be the Gladiator, Rubicon, but because that's a convertible, and because for some reason Jeep thinks that's a premium product, which it, I guess, is, you're probably looking at least $10,000 more than this vehicle. Of course, you won't have the convertible top in this Raptor, but you will have everything but the disconnectable sway bar, unless, of course, you get the Mojave version. Now, of course, the Colorado ZR2, probably a little bit less capable, but, you know, if you get the Bison version of it, in either the AE or the American Expedition vehicle, AEV, that they do in the Canyon on 35s, those are a little bit more capable. But for the most part, when comparing it to the Ranger, when comparing this to the Bronco Raptor and the Raptor R on the same trail, I'll take this all day long. Here comes the Rivian with mountain bikes on. Welcome to Colorado. Howdy, how's it going?
Hey, it's been 2 years.
Oh yeah, good to see you again. How are you? Yeah.
What do you got going on today?
I'm just reviewing the Ranger Raptor.
Right on.
Yeah. How are you loving your truck?
Still been delivering.
Do you want the new one?
Let's see.
Yes, he does.
I want the R3.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, with that new Volkswagen partnership, that actually might happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Have fun, guys.
Good.
Take care. Bye.
Hey, say hi to your son.
Yeah, I'll say hi to Tommy.
I kept his email address.
Okay.
I saw him on the beginning of a winter trip when I had the moon bike out.
That's right. I saw that. Yeah.
So anyway, I owed him a reply.
All right. I'll say you said hi to him.
You guys take care.
Take care. Bye.
Love your stuff.
Love your stuff too. There you go. Oh, he's got a little dent in his, if you can see it, in his back of his, well, it doesn't matter. These things happen when you off-road trucks. So anyway, if it were my money and I was comparing, which I have, which you've actually owned, you know, the $110,000 Raptor R or the Bronco Raptor, this is my choice. I just feel like I don't need to have the top dog of them all. Is it as capable as a Bronco Raptor? Probably not. I mean, that is such a hardcore off-road truck that, you know, this is probably 80% of that. But you know what? I will never get to 50% of it, so 80% of that is fine. And then I find that those Bronco Raptors, they're not out here. You know, people buy them and then they kind of use them as G-Wagons and use them more as a flex than actually as an off-roader. And the Raptor R, love that truck, love the sound. Nothing like a supercharged V8 with over 700 horsepower. Felt very special. but dare I say maybe too special. Like you felt like you felt bad taking it off-road. This, on the other hand, you know, we've already damaged it a little bit, so it's broken in. And at 57,000, I don't feel like we're actually, you know, doing a lot of damage that can't be easily repaired in a truck that loves to go off-road. Well, guys, thank you for joining me once again for this TFL off-road review. And as always, check out alltfl.com for news, views, and of course, real world. Look at this. Oh yeah, Colorado off-road reviews. We'll see you next time. Ciao.